Hello, everybody, and a really warm welcome to the launch of our new flagship report about women micro-entrepreneurs and mobile phones. My name's Dominica Lindsay, and I'm Senior Director on the Connected Women team here at the GSMA. And I'm joining from London today, and it's great to have so many of you joining from all around the world today. So if you feel you can, please do include in the chat where you're joining from. It'd be lovely to hear from you. And also, please feel free to use the chat today to ask any questions that you have, and our team will try and answer them. So why are we here today? Why are we talking about women micro-entrepreneurs and mobile phones? Well, there are many, many women micro-entrepreneurs in low and middle income countries that are working really hard to run a variety of different businesses, things like selling food in the marketplace that maybe they've grown, or maybe things that they've made, or offering services such as repair work or hairdressing. And these activities, they support communities, and they also support themselves and their families and economies more broadly. And we believe that there's a really huge opportunity for these women to use mobile phones to help them run their businesses. We know, for instance, that a mobile can help them phone customers or pay suppliers using mobile money. It can also help them do things like advertise their products on the internet, as well as many other things. And being able to do these things remotely via a mobile phone is particularly useful when they have a lot of household chores or carer responsibilities to juggle at the same time. We're now going to turn to Ghana and hear Sheila's story. Sheila makes fruit juice to sell in Accra, and she's going to tell us about her experience.
I do fruit juice, naturally fruit juice. You have to be fast when you are juicing it. If you are not fast, it will ferment. You can't sell to your customers, and it's a loss. When I'm working, I get this peace of mind, this happiness. I get orders from, I post it on IG, Snapchat, and my WhatsApp status. You have to have an image of what you do. Just take a short video of it, post it. When you have exclusive pictures and your pictures are nice, people will be like, wow, look at this product, it's nice. I have trust issues, so I believe everything I'm doing, when it comes to my business is my best friend, my life. My life depends on my business.
Heartwarming video from Sheila. You saw how she's quite confidently using Instagram and WhatsApp on her phone to advertise her fruit juice and receive orders from customers. But unfortunately, there are many women micro-entrepreneurs in low and middle income countries who are not like Sheila. They don't own an internet-enabled phone, and sometimes they don't own a phone at all. And even when they do, they don't always know how to use it or how it could help run their businesses. And sometimes it can even be frowned on by their family. In fact, we know that male micro-entrepreneurs in these countries are much more likely to use mobile phones in their businesses, and our team wanted to understand this dynamic a little bit more. So later we'll be sharing the highlights from our research in this that we conducted across 10 countries. And we're really excited as a team to be using this research to support our in-country partners reach women micro-entrepreneurs with mobile handsets and services. We'll hear a little bit more about this later from one of our partners. And our team is really grateful to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for supporting this crucial work, as well as the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, who have contributed to this research. Greta Bull, who is Director of Women's Economic Empowerment at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, was able to share a few words earlier about this important topic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry to be doing this as a recorded contribution, but it's very early in the morning here in Seattle, so recorded remarks it is. I want to start by thanking the GSMA for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you on the importance of digital tools to women's livelihoods, and to thank the Connected Women program in particular for their close partnership in producing this report. The focus of the report is female micro-entrepreneurs and the myriad ways they use digital tools to further their livelihoods. One thing I particularly like about the work is that it looks beyond MSMEs as one giant amorphous segment. MSMEs make up around 95% of enterprises in emerging markets. It's not a meaningful segment. We need to start thinking differently about the ways women earn their livelihoods. This research is an important step forward in thinking about how digital tools integrate into women's lives as entrepreneurs. Using both quantitative and qualitative data provides rich information on the challenges women face in accessing and making the best of mobile devices for their businesses, the functions they use their phones for, and some of the reasons for the persistent gender gaps we see across countries. The report and the work it will inform with MNOs is part of an ongoing partnership the Foundation has with GSMA on empowering women micro-entrepreneurs through mobile access in our focus countries. The Foundation's Women's Economic Empowerment Strategy, which was approved just over a year ago, sets out an overall goal to help 80 million women to increase their incomes by at least 30% by 2030, and crucially, to increase their control over that income. And digital tools and marketplaces are an important part of that strategy. Our focus countries are India and Kenya, and we're doing exploratory work in Nigeria, Uganda, Ethiopia, Senegal, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. We know that in low-income countries, the majority of women of working age who participate in the labor force do so through self-employment. The ILO estimates that 88% of women in emerging markets are self-employed. And we know that women face many disadvantages compared with men in accessing the resources they need to start and grow a business. Data from the World Bank, drawn from 10 countries in Africa, shows that the typical male-owned firm has 6 times the capital investment of a female-owned enterprise. The Foundation's WE strategy is particularly focused on women nano and micro-entrepreneurs who may have fixed premises but no employees or only a handful of them. By offering this group of women access to opportunities, we reach women in lower and more vulnerable income segments. Across our focus countries, we're working to test and scale up ways in which we can support women micro-entrepreneurs to access increased capital, acquire digital assets and skills, effectively connect to markets, and access or provide affordable childcare services. And digital tools are central to all of those functions. We know from GSMA's own member data that digital gender gaps remain large in countries across South Asia and sub-Saharan Africa on phone ownership, access to smartphones, and use of mobile internet. And barriers like affordability, lower levels of digital skills, and concerns about safety and security affect women to a much greater extent than men in these countries. But mobile phones are the primary way in which people in our markets access the internet. So supporting women to access and use mobile devices is critical for many aspects of their lives, and particularly for their economic outcomes and livelihoods. As documented in the report, access to mobile phones and internet opens up multiple avenues and opportunities for women to run and grow their businesses. For example, by communicating with their customers and suppliers, making payments, learning new skills, getting timely market information, or selling to a wider customer base. Using a mobile phone for business also helps women to navigate some of the time and mobility constraints they face by offering flexibility in how they conduct business. It can also help overcome some of the barriers driven by gendered social norms, which are prevalent in many of our markets. For example, a study in Uganda showed that women receiving loans using a mobile account saw 15% higher business profits and 11% higher business capital than women receiving loans in cash. This was at least in part driven by the women receiving funds in their accounts facing less pressure to share that loan with others in the household compared with those who received cash. There's evidence from multiple countries that the use of phones and mobile money supports women micro-entrepreneurs to increase profits and be more resilient to shocks. At the Foundation, we will look to draw on the insights from this research in the design and implementation of our own projects targeting digital inclusion and women micro-entrepreneurs. We also look forward to working with GSMA as they take the insights from the research to their operator partners in country to design and test interventions for how mobile network operators can provide relevant products and services to help women micro-entrepreneurs increase incomes and build resilient businesses. I hope all of you get as much insight from the report as I did. Thank you.
But thank you, Greta, for kicking us off today with your insightful contribution. And next up, I'm delighted to introduce 2 colleagues from our digital inclusion team, who are lead authors of our report titled Understanding Women Micro-Entrepreneurs' Use of Mobile Phones for Business. Alida Tagiyeva Senior Insights Manager, and Isabel Carboni, Insights Director, will be taking us through the key findings.
Hello, thank you very much for joining our session today. My name is Alida Tagieva.
My name is Isabel Carboni, and we're going to take you through the key findings of our latest research.
Self-employment is the main source of livelihoods in low and middle-income countries. In low-income countries, nearly 9 out of 10 working women are self-employed. Women micro-entrepreneurs contribute significantly to household financial resiliency and well-being, their communities, and the national economy. Yet, due to social norms and structural inequalities, they are more disadvantaged than male micro-entrepreneurs when it comes to accessing opportunities and resources to start, manage, and grow their business. Mobile phones can be a source of economic and social empowerment by providing them with access to information, services, and resources that they may not have easy access to otherwise. And this is especially so for women. For women micro-entrepreneurs in particular, mobile has the potential to help overcome some of the social norms that constrain them. For example, mobile allows them to run business from home and balance household responsibilities and income-generating activities. Using mobile limits the need for face-to-face interaction, allowing women to transact with male customers and suppliers in more conservative settings. It also allows to find business ideas and learn new skills remotely. But despite these benefits, we know that women are less likely than men to own and use mobile phones. We wanted to know what this looked like for women micro-entrepreneurs in particular. So we conducted a large-scale research across 10 low and middle-income countries. The aim was to understand how women micro-entrepreneurs are currently using mobile phones, the barriers they face, the opportunities to reach them with mobile products and services that best meet their needs and challenges, and how this compared to male micro-entrepreneurs. The research was both quantitative and qualitative in selected countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. We surveyed almost 8,000 male and female micro-entrepreneurs in person in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Indonesia, in Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and Senegal, as well as in Guatemala. We also undertook qualitative research with around 300 micro-entrepreneurs across Kenya, Ghana, India, and Pakistan. Now coming to key findings from our research. Firstly, women micro-entrepreneurs are less likely than men to use a mobile phone to support their business. This graph shows mobile use for business across the 10 countries, with women micro-entrepreneurs represented in the red bars and men in dark red bars. As you can see, fewer women micro-entrepreneurs used mobile for business in 9 of the 10 survey countries, except Indonesia, where it is quite similar. If we look at Pakistan, for example, only around a third of women micro-entrepreneurs reported using mobile for business compared to more than half of men. Furthermore, women micro-entrepreneurs are less likely than men to use a mobile phone for business, even when they use one in their personal lives. This graph shows micro-entrepreneurs who use a mobile phone and compares those who use it in their business in dark shades to those who only use it in their personal life in light shades for each country and by gender. In half of the survey countries, less than 50% of women micro-entrepreneurs who use a mobile for personal reasons also use it for business. These are Ethiopia, Senegal, India, Pakistan, and Guatemala. Even in Kenya, where mobile use for business is relatively high, there are still 42% of women micro-entrepreneurs who use a mobile phone who are only using it for personal reasons and not for business, compared to 31% of men. So what influences whether or not a micro-entrepreneur uses a mobile for business? Our qualitative research found that while there are different factors influencing whether and how micro-entrepreneurs use mobile for business, a micro-entrepreneur's business drive was the biggest predictor of whether or not they used a mobile in their business. We also found that micro-entrepreneurs who show lower business drive tend to be those who experience more constraints, and that these constraints limited their ability to develop business drive and to act on it. 3 main groups of micro-entrepreneurs emerged from the research, each with different levels of drive and constraints. The The first group is subsistence-focused micro-entrepreneurs. They are focused on meeting their immediate needs to get by. They experience substantial constraints, usually show lower drive, and have a very basic use of mobile, if any. The second group is business as usual. This group tends to get satisfaction from their business, enjoy their work, and show moderate levels of drive, but they also face many challenges and constraints to growing their business. Many use mobile for business but aren't able to get the full value from it. The third group is highly driven micro-entrepreneurs. They have ambitions to grow their business and face fewer constraints compared to previous two groups. They tend to have the most diverse or frequent use of mobile for business. They are often the early adopters and see mobile as fundamental to running their business. Women micro-entrepreneurs face more constraints than men to realizing their business drive, which impacts their use of mobile for business. Firstly, women experience constraints to operating as a micro-entrepreneur more generally. For example, women commonly manage unpaid domestic and care work alongside their businesses and in some settings are not allowed to leave the house independently. In our qualitative research, we also heard other issues women micro-entrepreneurs faced, such as not being taken as seriously as men when negotiating with suppliers, and sexual harassment or fears of harassment. Secondly, they face constraints to accessing and using mobile phones, such as having lower incomes than men, which makes affording a smartphone more difficult. They also tend to have lower confidence than men in their ability to use a mobile phone. These quotes here highlight some of the challenges women face balancing household responsibilities and business. Now let's look at how micro-entrepreneurs are using mobile to support their business. These are the 5 most common ways that micro-entrepreneurs use mobile in their business, although in most countries, women tend to use them less than men. Communication was by far the most common way micro-entrepreneurs used mobile for business. In 6 of the 10 survey countries, at least 30% of men and women micro-entrepreneurs reported using a mobile phone to communicate with their customers and suppliers. The highest rate is among micro-entrepreneurs in Ghana, where 71% of men and 56% of women reported doing this. Digital financial services, especially making and receiving payments or saving or storing money, are the common digital financial services that micro-entrepreneurs report using across survey countries. However, there are gender gaps. Even in Kenya, where the use of mobile money is widespread, only 46% of women micro-entrepreneurs reported using mobile to make or receive business payments, compared to 62% of their male counterparts. Other use cases for business were marketing, advertising or promoting their products and services, learning new skills or getting new ideas, and using their mobile to store information and files. For certain common use cases, we asked micro-entrepreneurs which mobile-related channels they used to do this. For example, was it social media or instant messaging? When we looked at which channels were used for business communications, it emerged that network calls were used a lot more than any other channel. This was especially the case for women. The graph on this slide shows the data from Ghana. Here, the vast majority of micro-entrepreneurs who use a mobile to communicate with customers and suppliers do so using network calls. The remaining channels, such as SMS and instant messaging, were used a lot less, especially by women. When we looked at which mobile-related channels micro-entrepreneurs used to market and promote their products and services, network calls again emerged as the main channel, rather than social media or other online channels.
In our sample, all micro-entrepreneurs were aware that they could use a mobile to communicate with customers or suppliers, but there was much lower awareness of all the other ways in which a mobile could be used to support business activities, and this was especially true for women. This graph shows data from Nigeria and India. It shows the proportion of micro-entrepreneurs who were aware or not aware that a mobile phone could be used for marketing or promoting their business. The darker section at the base shows those who are aware of this use case, and the lighter shade at the top shows those who are not aware. You can see the differences here by country, but also by gender. And in both countries, women are substantially less likely to be aware of this use case. In India, for example, 47% of male micro-entrepreneurs were aware that a mobile could be used to market or promote their business, but only 32% of women micro-entrepreneurs were aware of this use case. Our research identified key barriers that prevent micro-entrepreneurs from starting to use a mobile for business or from using it more if they already did so. An initial barrier is not owning a mobile device or having regular access to one through borrowing, for example. Women are particularly affected by this barrier. And in 7 of our 10 survey countries, more than a quarter of female micro-entrepreneurs didn't own a handset. There are many reasons why women may not own a handset that includes social norms, but also affordability. Here's an example from Pakistan, where more than half of women micro-entrepreneurs do not own a phone, compared to only 16% of men. Women micro-entrepreneurs are also much less likely than men to own a smartphone. The lack of smartphone impacts women's ability to get the full benefit of using a mobile to support their business. Even when micro-entrepreneurs do own a phone, there are other barriers that prevent them from using it for their business or starting to use it. There are 4 top barriers that emerged from our research. And as mentioned previously, due to social norms and structural inequalities, women may experience these barriers more than men. The most reported barrier was just not having the right kind of phone. This includes not having an internet-enabled handset, or having a phone that just doesn't meet their needs, which could include having a phone with low storage capacity, a poor camera, a broken screen. Many of these things will limit their ability to take photos of produce and to market it online. For micro-entrepreneurs in Senegal who owned a mobile phone, not having an internet-enabled handset phone was the most reported barrier for women. 24% of women micro-entrepreneurs reported this, compared to just 14% of men. The second most reported barrier was perceived relevance, particularly a preference for cash over digital transactions. And many micro-entrepreneurs don't see the benefit of using a phone to make or receive payments and will prefer cash or other payment methods, especially those who are women and those who live in rural areas. In Nigeria, for example, this preference was reported as a barrier by 32% of men and 37% of women micro-entrepreneurs. Our qualitative research also revealed a common perception, especially amongst women micro-entrepreneurs, that using a mobile and using mobile internet is something that was just relevant for bigger businesses. Another barrier is safety and security concerns, and in 7 of the 10 survey countries, at least 20% of micro-entrepreneurs who owned a mobile reported this barrier, and particularly women. This includes concerns about theft, fraud, or being contacted by strangers. This barrier tended to be reported more by micro-entrepreneurs who didn't use a mobile phone for business, and less by those who were already using it in their business. But these concerns were particularly high for women micro-entrepreneurs in Ethiopia, Kenya, Senegal, India, and Pakistan. In some more conservative contexts, there were also additional concerns such as fear that public exposure through digital channels, such as social media, may lead to reputational damage, or that women might be exposed to harmful or inappropriate content online. The last barrier we're diving into here is not having the necessary confidence or digital skills. In 7 of the 10 survey countries, at least 1 in 5 micro-entrepreneurs who own a phone reported a lack of confidence or digital skills as a barrier. Women micro-entrepreneurs in particular often fear making mistakes and lack confidence in their own ability to apply their mobile digital skills into a business use case. For example, while women were comfortable using social media to post personal content, they didn't feel equipped to apply these skills to promote their own businesses. However, once women micro-entrepreneurs do start using a mobile phone for business, most consider it crucial to running their business. And in all 10 survey countries, most micro-entrepreneurs who used a mobile phone for business reported that they could not run their business without one, or that it would be more difficult to do so. Although men were more likely to report this than women. As an example, you can see here the data from Senegal and India, where 65% of women micro-entrepreneurs who use a mobile for business and 62% in India report that using a mobile is important to running their business. This highlights the value of mobile for business and the importance of addressing these barriers that prevent women micro-entrepreneurs from using a phone and realizing this opportunity. So what needs to be done? If we want to enable women micro-entrepreneurs to get the full benefit from mobile technology, this will require targeted action from multiple stakeholders. And this includes mobile operators, governments, development practitioners, and other stakeholders. Through our research, we identified 5 key action areas. Firstly, understand how women micro-entrepreneurs are using a mobile for business, as well as their needs and the barriers they face, and use that to inform strategies and policies that will reach and support them with mobile. Secondly, increase awareness and understanding among both women micro-entrepreneurs and their families of how a mobile can be useful for their business and the potential benefits it can provide. Thirdly, build the knowledge and confidence and digital skills of women micro-entrepreneurs to use a mobile for business, such as how to use key apps and also how to stay safe online. Ensure women micro-entrepreneurs can access or afford suitable handsets, especially internet-enabled handsets, or one with relevant features such as a camera. And lastly, design services that are relevant, safe, affordable, and easy to use, including those that operate through mobile internet and digital financial services. For more insights from this research, we invite you to read our full report, Understanding Women Micro-Entrepreneurs' Use of Mobile for Business, available on the GSMA website. Lastly, we'd like to express our gratitude to the donors who funded this work. This research in 10 countries has been funded by the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation and in part by the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office and the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel and Alida, for taking us through the findings. And thank you not only to the donors that Isabel just mentioned, but also to everyone who was involved in this research at the GSMA, our partners, BASIS and Ipsos, and of course, the men and women in the field, the micro-entrepreneurs who kindly agreed to be interviewed. There's some really great questions coming in on the chat about what we've been saying and sharing, so please keep them coming and our team will keep trying to answer them. So now we're going to zoom into Pakistan, one of our research countries, and hear from an organisation that has been working really hard to empower women micro-entrepreneurs. I have great pleasure in welcoming Haris Mahmood Chowdhury from Mobilink Microfinance Bank, who is Chief Operating Officer. Mobilink Bank is one of our private sector partners who have made a formal commitment to reduce the gender gap in their customer base, and we're really proud to be supporting them on this journey. And I'm delighted to hand over to my colleague, Claire Sibthorpe, who is Head of Digital Inclusion at the GSMA, and she'll be asking Haris about the situation in Pakistan and what Mobilink Bank has been doing.
Thanks, Sarah, so much for joining us and sharing your insights on this important topic. I'm going to kick off with my first question to you, which is that I'd love to hear your thoughts on the research findings in relation to Pakistan, and do they resonate with what you're seeing on the ground with women micro-entrepreneurs? Are they anything surprising or different from what you expected?
Thank you, Claire, for having me over. Your study clearly explains, the difference between the mobile phone ownership and affordability, but that also reflects about our social cultural landscape of Pakistan, which is quite unique. But you're looking at the different numbers. If you look at, there's a serious gap of affordability and between the male and the female users in Pakistan. And also, if we talk about the offline people in Pakistan, male do have access to internet and mobile services. When it compares to women, you see low numbers. So, looking at these things at MMBBL, what we're trying to do is that we are trying to fix those gaps. So, our first initiative was that we need to bridge those gaps. So we need to give smartphones to women micro-entrepreneurs. And how can we do that is that we have signed up with a Digit 4G smartphone, which is a low-end smartphone, but we are also providing an opportunity to them so they can also take the smartphone on monthly installments. So they don't have to make an upfront payment. So in this way, they will have an access to smartphone. And then we are also connecting them with our mobile app, which is called Dost, which is in English, it's called Friend, which is going to give them a premium digital financial services over the phone. Because there's a challenge from the women micro-entrepreneurs in terms of mobility. So instead of going to different branches and going to different marketplaces, they can use this through their smartphone. So this is something which has really helped, and we are continuing trying to improve it more. And we can see wherever there is a gap, we can try to fix that.
Great. Well, it's sad that there's a gap that we're having to talk about here, but really interesting to hear how you're prioritizing. And I think it's encouraging to see that a third of your customers are women in a market where that's usually women represent a much smaller proportion. I'd really love to hear from you, like why have you decided to prioritize women in this way?
To be honest, our half of the population is approximately 49, certain percentage is our women. So if we have 1/3 of customers, so there's a much more room to improve it and also bring them into the financial inclusion program. So that's what we are focusing on. We have seen a good growth. If we talk about the numbers from the last year, we have a cumulative growth of 27%. So currently, if I just give you the numbers, we've got over 140,000 deposit account holders of women, and we have approximately 70,000 women borrowers account. As I said, which has grown significantly from the last year. And that's what we are focusing on, because this is something not going to help them and empower them financially, but will also help us in the economic situation of Pakistan. Because we strongly believe, if we are going to educate a woman or if we're educating a mother, we are educating a generation. So that's why we are empowering them financially. We are empowering them financially so they can also pass this on to the generation, and we can take the benefits out of it. So we are also working on the custom-made financial products. So we can also tell them how to go about it, how they can improve their businesses, and by different learning management systems, like if they have to do business planning, because we have a literacy challenge, so we have to create that awareness. And then also, in terms of financial planning, and also bringing them into a marketplace where they can upscale their business. So I think that is very important, that we need to work on that. And maybe, as you said, it's 1/3, maybe we can just take it to half. So which is our current population of Pakistan.
That would be amazing if next time we talk, you're at half. That would be fantastic. But it's very interesting to hear what you're saying.
Maybe not next time, because, but we are very aggressive on that, because we strongly believe in this.
Yeah, fantastic. And we've had the absolute pleasure of being with your team in Pakistan recently, and in a workshop where we heard a lot about what the many things you're doing to reach women micro-entrepreneurs. Really interesting. And I was just wondering, if you think about all the different things that you're doing, what do you think has been the most effective, and why?
Okay. Team has worked really hard on this. We have made a strategy of the bank that we need to work on this. So it's a part of our strategy. So we have also introduced a program called Women Inspirational Program with a network, which is called WIN. So what we're trying to do is that as I said, that we have made custom-made product in which we are giving a bit of a discount on the borrowers, and also making it very simple for the women borrowers, how to apply for a loan, and also help them in getting into the marketplace. On the same side, looking at the financial inclusion, we're also making it very simpler for a lot of women to open bank accounts. So they don't have to go through hassle. They don't have to depend on their dependents, which is in our social culture. So we're trying to remove those barriers and making them easy for them for opening an account, making them exposed to different training modules, which will tell them how to increase their businesses in terms of their financial planning. If there's any tax impact, whatever needs to be done, we can create that awareness among them so they can be more well equipped when they go into the marketplace.
Great. I mean, it's really interesting how you're just targeting all the different barriers you talked about, getting handsets, affordable handsets in, training, awareness, having relevant products and services. Really, really interesting. Absolutely fascinating. If I know there's a lot of people listening, and if you were to make one recommendation for others, for what others can do to empower women micro-entrepreneurs with mobile, what would it be?
First of all, I think we strongly need to believe in this, that by making women financially empowered is going to be, so that's the way women are going to be empowered. So we at our group level, we at the bank, our central bank, which is state bank, strongly believe in that. And for that, we also have worked towards the staff gender sensitivity. So, our 98% of the staffs have been trained accordingly. So we can make products accordingly for the women. And I think the second most important thing is the creating an awareness and collaborating with different public and private sectors. So wherever we see there's a partnership opportunity, we should be partnering with each other and looking after what we can do together to achieve this goal. For example, I just give you an example. Now we are in the process of launching an e-bike because mobility is an issue. So we're launching with different partners. We can have a sustainable bike, which is going to be, climate friendly and can also be used by women for mobility. So we're looking for different kind of partners. We are more collaborating. We're creating an awareness wherever it is required in terms of digital literacy that needs to go out to the people. Wherever it needs to be financial literacy required, that needs to go out to these women entrepreneurs so they can learn from them. And then, we can collaborate and coordinate. And that's the way forward, I would say. So anyone or any organization wants to do that, they need to collaborate, create those awareness in financial and digital literacy.
Thank you so much. It's really great to hear your perspectives as somebody on the ground really working to deliver in this space. So thank you so much for your time and for your input here today, Harris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harris and Claire. Harris, it's wonderful to hear about everything that you and the team at Mobilink Bank has been up to. It's a real inspiration for everyone listening today, I'm sure. And even though you mentioned a lot of challenges that you have in Pakistan, you've had a really impressive growth rate of women customers. And I like that you mentioned the need to partner and to collaborate. And our team certainly believes that everyone has a role to play in making sure that women micro-entrepreneurs have the opportunity to thrive and not be held back, whether we sit in industry or government, or one of the many other types of stakeholder out there. And I know that many of you listening today are working on this important topic, and we'd love to hear what you found is really moving the needle in this space. So please do share with us. And if you'd like to hear when we have more insights on this topic, please register for our newsletter. One of my colleagues perhaps can share the link in the chat to that. It's gsma.com/mobilefordevelopment/subscribe. And so this brings us to the end of our webinar. So thank you very much for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again to all of our wonderful speakers today, Greta, Alida, Isabel, Claire, and Harris. Thanks and have a good day.